Hello everyone, welcome to the revision session on acids, bases and salts. And this particular chapter is one of the important chapters of your science syllabus on which you can expect application based questions in the examination. The questions relating to this chapter can be asked as MCQ or 1 mark questions where the question will be really application based. Okay, you should literally think and answer such questions. Fine. Let us quickly go for the revision topic by topic, that is concept by concept. And first, let us try to revise what do you mean by acid and what do you mean by a base here. So what is an acid here? Acid is any substance that contains or gives H plus ion. Okay. So H plus ion giving substance is called as acid. Right? And we have two types of acids here, strong acid and weak acid. So you need to remember the examples under strong acid and the examples under weak acid. And now, what do you mean by a strong acid? It is the acid which can completely dissociate into ions. Yes or no? If you have taken 100 acid molecules, the moment you put 100 molecules in a water, all the 100 molecules will give you H plus ion. Okay. So complete dissociation or complete breaking is observed with strong acids. So examples: HCl, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, phosphoric acid and chloric acid. Okay. Weak acid, the substance that does not undergo complete dissociation. Say if you have put 100 molecules of acid in a water, only 50 molecules may break and give you H plus ion. Remaining 50 molecules will not give H plus ion at all. The molecule will never break. Okay. So such a acid we will call it as weak acid. And what examples here? Carbonic acid. H2CO3 is called carbonic acid. CH3COOH we will call it as acetic acid. Okay. Try to remember these examples. Maybe these examples are enough for your 10th standard level. Okay. Fine. And coming to the bases. So how do you define a base? Base is a substance which give OH minus ion. Okay. Again here two types are there, strong base and weak base. Okay. So strong base, again the definition is same. The base which can undergo complete dissociation in water is strong base. So what examples here? Sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, barium hydroxide, okay, rubidium hydroxide, all hydroxides. First group elements hydroxide, second group elements hydroxides are strong bases. Okay. And coming to the weak bases. So this is the base that will not undergo complete dissociation in water. Okay. So such a base we will call it as weaker one. And the best example under weak base is ammonium hydroxide. Okay. So this is one important aspect that you have to remember. It's compulsorily necessary to remember the examples under strong and weak category. Okay. And next we are trying to move for indicators. Okay. So using indicators you can differentiate between acid and base. Determine which is acid and which is base. Three types of indicators are there. First one, natural indicators, which is naturally available in nature. Examples: litmus, turmeric, red cabbage leaves also. Okay. So even red cabbage leaves can come under natural indicators. And coming to the synthetic indicators are the chemical substances which are prepared in a chemical laboratories. Man-made indicators are called synthetic one. Okay. Examples: two compounds which are very important. One is phenolphthalein, other one is methyl orange. And next one, olfactory indicator, which is very important to remember. You should know its definition as well as examples. So what do you mean by olfactory? Olfactory indicators are those substances whose smell and taste will change when dipped in acid and base separately. Okay. So example: onion, clove, vanilla. These three are important examples. And now you should know this particular idea. What will happen when acid or red litmus paper is dipped in acid? Red litmus turns red only. Red remains red only because it's acid. Okay. So what happens when blue litmus is added to acid? You will get red. That means blue will be converted into red color. Remember this. And when you add phenolphthalein to acid, you know, phenolphthalein is naturally a colorless solution. It remains colorless only. When acid is added to phenolphthalein, no change takes place. Okay. So acid remains colorless itself. When methyl orange is added to acid, you know, you will observe red color formation. Okay. Fine. And next one, when red litmus is dipped into base, red will become blue. Red converts into blue. When blue litmus is dipped into base, blue remains blue. When phenolphthalein is added to base, you know, phenolphthalein previously it is basically colorless one. That colorless will be converted into pink color. Okay. When methyl orange is added to base, you get yellow color. So these color changes you must remember. This is also very important concept where questions can be asked. Okay. And the next concept was chemical reactions of acids and bases. So one by one, let us discuss the chemical reactions. Coming to the chemical reactions of acids, the first and the most important reaction is the very basic one, that is acid when reacts with a metal, you will get salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, but with all types of a metal, acid will not give hydrogen gas. Only the metals which are more reactive than hydrogen, the metals which are more reactive than hydrogen can only give the product salt and hydrogen. Okay, and how do you know that which metal is more reactive than hydrogen or not? It is by reactivity series. Okay, so reactivity series, I gave you a trick also. If you want, you can go and watch video number 3 of chemical reactions and equations, where you will find trick to remember the reactivity series easily. Okay, so there are the elements like sodium, magnesium, aluminium, potassium, you know, zinc, iron, lead, tin. All these elements will come above hydrogen. Okay, so all these elements can react. They all can react with acid to give hydrogen gas, to give H2 gas. Clear everybody? Because all these elements are placed above hydrogen. That means they are more reactive than hydrogen. Okay, so these elements only can react with acid to give hydrogen gas. Okay, the elements like copper, okay, gold and platinum, even silver, you know, these elements does not react with acid. Does not react with acid. Remember this point, it's very, very, very important. Okay, so whenever the metal is copper, gold, platinum or silver, you know, they will not give hydrogen gas and salt as the product. Okay, only if the metals are these, then they can react with acid to give salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, and the best example we studied for this particular reaction is you know, acid HCl plus zinc. When you take it, you will get ZnCl2 plus H2 gas. Or if it is H2SO4, treat it with zinc. What do you get? Zinc sulfate plus H2 gas. Yes, and we had a figure relating to this reaction, and that figure is very, very important, which can be asked for board examination. Okay, and any metal, but the metal's position should be above hydrogen in the reactivity series. Okay, so any of these metals you take and any acid you take, you know, you will always get any particular that respective salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, and one more important point is, how do you detect hydrogen gas? So whenever you keep a burning candle near hydrogen gas, you know, the gas catches fire with a pop sound. So this is very important to remember. Okay, so you keep a burning candle near hydrogen gas, the gas can catch more and more flame and it burns with a big pop sound, right? So burns with big pop sound. This is what important to remember. Okay, so this is how we detect hydrogen gas. So this is all about metal reacting with acid to give salt and hydrogen gas. So here you must remember which metals give hydrogen gas on reacting with acid, which metals does not give, and why this, and how do you detect hydrogen gas, and what happens when hydrogen gas is burnt. Okay, so this is all about the concept. Next we will go for another important reaction, acid reacting with metal carbonate and metal bicarbonate. Okay, so whenever acid reacts with metal carbonate and metal bicarbonate, you will always get salt, water and carbon dioxide gas. Okay, say for example, I will take NaCO3, sodium bicarbonate, plus I will treat it with HCl. Can you tell me what is the product you will get? Here we'll get a salt, that is NaCl is the salt we'll get, and water and carbon dioxide are the byproducts. Okay, so similarly you take sodium bicarbonate, treat it with HCl. Here also you will be getting a salt NaCl plus H2O plus carbon dioxide. Okay, so these two are the most important reaction. And here the question can be asked in a varieties of ways. They can ask you with any acid and any metal carbonate or bicarbonate. Okay, and here we have one famous question on this concept. What happens when HCl is put on eggshells? What happens when HCl is added to eggshells? Okay, HCl is added to eggshells. So what does the eggshell contains? Calcium carbonate. Yes or no? HCl, this is an acid. Eggshell contains calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is an example for metal carbonate, right? So what happens when HCl reacts with calcium carbonate? Can you tell me what are the products you will get? Salt, water, carbon dioxide. What salt you will get here? CaCl2 plus CO2 plus H2O, right? So this is a very important reaction. So similarly, HCl can react with calcium bicarbonate also. HCl can react with calcium bicarbonate also. Fine. And now the very important concept here you need to remember is how do you detect carbon dioxide gas? How do you detect carbon dioxide gas? That is by lime water test. That is by lime water test. So what do you mean by lime water test? Lime water is nothing but calcium hydroxide solution. Lime water is nothing but calcium hydroxide solution. When carbon dioxide gas is passed through calcium hydroxide, you will get a milky solution, that is calcium carbonate, right, plus water. And this is milky white color. Milky white color. And to this, when some more amount of carbon dioxide is passed, you will get calcium bicarbonate solution. You will get calcium bicarbonate which is colorless. Calcium bicarbonate which is colorless. This is what we call lime water test. Clear everyone? So this is a very, very important test that you have to remember, lime water test. So whenever calcium hydroxide solution, which we also call it as lime water, to that when carbon dioxide gas is passed, you will get initially milky white colored solution which is nothing but calcium carbonate. To that when you pass carbon dioxide, you will get colorless solution of calcium bicarbonate. Okay, so normally when little amount of carbon dioxide is passed, you will get milky white calcium carbonate solution. When excess, that is large amount of calcium carbon dioxide is passed, you will get colorless solution of calcium bicarbonate. Okay, so this is what you have to remember about lime water test. And another way of detecting carbon dioxide is with the help of burning candle only. Okay, so when you keep a burning candle near carbon dioxide, the flame will get stopped. So that is the reason, the mixture of HCl and sodium carbonate is used in fire extinguisher. Okay, so because it can extinguish the fire. Extinguishing the fire in the sense the flame or fire will get stopped. Okay, so this is what the reaction of acid with metal carbonate and metal bicarbonate. Clear? Fine. And we'll go for the next reaction. Acids, when react with metallic oxides, you will get salt and water. Here also you are getting salt and water. So what examples that you can write here? Acid on reacting with metallic oxide. So in your NCERT textbook, they have given this reaction when HCl is added to copper oxide. We all know copper oxide is slightly blackish in color. Okay, so the moment you add it to copper oxide, you will get copper chloride, which is blue-green in color. Which is blue-green in color. Along with that, you will get water. Okay, so this is the best example that you can remember for this particular reaction. Acid reacting with metallic oxide. You will get salt and water. Okay, remember, black copper oxide is getting converted into blue-green color of copper chloride. Fine. And the last reaction of acid, but still very, very important reaction, is acid reacting with a base. So whenever acid reacts with a base, you will definitely get salt and water. And this reaction, we will call it as neutralization reaction. It is called neutralization reaction. Okay, and the neutralization reactions are exothermic in nature. Remember this point, very important. Exothermic in the sense, the reactions where heat is liberated in large amount. Okay, so whenever you mix acid with a base, always heat would be liberated outside. That is the reason neutralization reactions are also called exothermic. They are exothermic in nature. Okay, so what is the example you will give here? HCl plus NaOH. Okay, tell me what do you get? You would be getting NaCl plus H2O. NaCl plus H2O. Okay, so this is the best example for neutralization reaction. And don't think that only these reactions, only these examples can be asked in the examination. Say in this case, they can give you any acid, any reactive metal. You must able to write the products. So in this case, they can give you any acid or any carbonate or metal bicarbonate they would ask you. But you should correctly able to predict what type of a salt you get. Okay, so these are the most important reaction that you have to remember. And don't forget to remember how do you test hydrogen gas and how do you test carbon dioxide gas. Particularly this lime water test. What happens when carbon dioxide is passed in a little amount and what happens when carbon dioxide is passed in an excess amount to lime water. This difference is very important to remember. Okay, next is reactions of bases. So you have mainly two reactions in your syllabus, right? What happens when base reacts with a metal? Acid reacts with a metal, you had got salt and hydrogen gas. Similarly, whenever base reacts with a metal, here also you will get salt and hydrogen gas. Okay, so what was the example you studied? Base example NaOH plus metal we took zinc, right? The salt you get it here is sodium zincate. Okay, that is Na2ZnO2. This is called sodium zincate plus hydrogen gas. So try to remember this example and write the formula of the compound correctly. It is sodium zincate. Okay, and coming to the next reaction, base when it reacts with a non-metallic oxide. Say for example you have a base calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide. What happens? Any non-metallic oxide? Carbon dioxide, isn't it? Carbon is a non-metal in combination with oxygen, non-metallic oxide. So carbon dioxide, when you pass it to calcium hydroxide, what do you get? You get calcium carbonate plus water. So this is the salt you get, and water is the byproduct. Try to remember this example for this particular reaction sequence. Okay. Okay, the next concept was aqueous solutions of acids, bases and salts conduct electricity. Very important concept. Whenever acid which is dissolved in a water, base dissolved in a water or salt dissolved in a water, such solutions are called aqueous solutions. Okay, so these aqueous solutions produces ions. Remember the word ions. Okay, so the moment HCl is added into water, what do you get? H plus ions and Cl minus ions. The moment NaCl is added into water, so what are the products you will get? You know, Na plus ion you will get and Cl minus ion you will get. Similarly, base, when you add it to water, OH minus ions you will get. Yes or no? So these ions are produced, and ions will move from one place to another place carrying electricity. Okay, so that is the reason aqueous solutions of acids, bases and salts always conduct electricity. The reason is they produce ions. Okay, so ions are mobile in nature. They do carry electric current from one place to another place. Okay, and this is the figure which is acting as a proof to tell aqueous solutions can conduct electricity. Okay, so here in a beaker we took HCl solution, and this is a rubber core. These two are iron nails, and you know they are connected to a battery. Here this is a bulb, this is a switch. Yes, the moment we on the switch, electricity would pass like this, and you know from this iron nail to this iron nail, electricity is passed through ions. Say here you have a solution, it may contain, it's HCl solution, so lots of H plus ions would be there, Cl minus ions would be there. So they are carrying electricity from one iron nail to another iron nail. So electricity is passing from another iron nail and it's going, and the bulb will glow. Right? So this is the figure 2.3 which can be asked for board examination. So do practice this figure properly. Okay, fine. And now without water, if aqueous solutions of acids and bases you don't take, say I don't dissolve, I took HCl gas, I'm not dissolving in water, then can it produce ions? Definitely no. Okay, so acids or salts or whatever it is, as long as they are there in a purest state without dissolving in a water, they cannot produce any ions. When they are not producing any ions, they cannot carry electricity. So that is the reason solid NaCl, you don't have a separate ions. Between Na and Cl, lot of attraction would be there. Okay, so solid NaCl does not conduct electricity, whereas aqueous NaCl, aqueous means NaCl dissolved in water, definitely it can produce these ions, so it can conduct electricity. So try to remember, so whenever you have a dry HCl gas which is not dissolved in water, dry HCl gas do not conduct electricity. Okay, so it will not turn, you know, blue litmus paper red. Clear everybody? So it will not produce any ions. Please do remember this concept, it's very important. Say for example, you have certain compounds like alcohol and glucose. You have certain compounds like C6H12O6. Okay, and alcohol. Do they conduct electricity? Definitely no, because these two guys does not produce any ions. Glucose or ethyl alcohol or urea, such chemical substances do not produce ions in water when they are dissolved in water, so they do not conduct electricity. So concept is very clear. Only those substances which can produce ions in water conduct electricity. The chemical substances which do not produce ions in water do not conduct electricity. Okay, so this is the concept you have to remember. Clear? Fine. And now coming to the concept of dilution. So what do you mean by dilution? Mixing of mixing of water with acid or base, with acid or base is called dilution. Okay, so whenever you add water, more and more water to a particular acid, we call that process is dilution. Okay, fine. So always it is recommended to add acid to water, but not water to acid. Okay, whenever you are diluting acidic solution, always add acid to water, because the dilution process is exothermic. Dilution process is exothermic. That means whenever you try to mix acid or base with water, no, lots of heat will be liberated out. So what happens when you add water to a acid? At a stretch, the contents of the beaker, may splash on a face and it will get hurt. So always acid must be added to water, not water to acid. Clear, everybody? And now coming to the concept of pH. So we all know P means power, H means hydrogen ion concentration. So pH is used to measure the strength or concentration of H plus ion concentration. Okay, so pH can be measured with the help of pH scale. pH scale has a numbers from 0 to 14. If you get a number 7, that means this particular solution is neutral in nature. If it is an acidic solution, pH value will be below 7. If it is a basic solution, pH value is above 7. Okay, so any particular acidic solution, if hydrogen ion concentration increases, pH value always decreases. That means, try to remember, more the acidic nature for an acid, lesser will be the pH value. Okay, more the acidic character, lesser will be the pH. Lesser will be the pH. Okay. If the acid is stronger and stronger, pH value will be lesser and lesser. That means you would be having values from 0, 1, 2. Okay. If the value is 6, 6.5, 5.5, then it is a mild acid. Okay. Hydrogen ion concentration is less in them. If the hydrogen ion concentration is very strong, the value will be lesser and lesser, like 0, 1, 1.5, like that. Okay. And if the pH value increases, if the pH value increases, then the basic nature increases. Basic nature increases. More the pH value, more will be the strongness for a base. Clear? So if you get a values like 13.5, 13, 14, then it indicates that particular base is very, very strong base. If the value is 7.5, 8 and all, then it is a mild base. Okay. OH ion concentration is very less. If you get values like 7, 8 and all. OH minus concentration is very high when you have values like 13, 14. Okay. So higher the pH value, higher, more stronger will be the base. Lower the pH value, more stronger is the acid. So this is what the concept you have to remember. On this, application based questions can be asked. Say for example, they'll ask you 4 solutions ABCD is given with pH value 8, 9, 1, 2. Arrange ABCD in the decreasing order of H plus ion concentration, or arrange them in the increasing order of H plus ion concentration. This is how they'll ask the questions. Say if you want more details about such questions, you can go to my video number 6. I have made a video on pH. Okay. So in that video, you will find more application based question on this particular pH. Fine. And next concept is importance of pH in everyday life. Okay. Where you need to remember about few definitions here. You need to know what is acid rain. So what do you mean by acid rain? If the rainwater's pH is falling below 5.6, right? If the rainwater pH is falling below 5.6, then we call such a rain as acid rain. And how does our acid rain is forming? our normal rainwater on reacting with sulfur trioxide and sulfur dioxide, you will be getting a product H2SO4 and you know what do you get? H2SO3. Okay, so this is what the dangerous acids that will be present in rain and which is responsible to decrease the pH of a rainwater below 5.6. And such a rain you will call it as acid rain, and it's very dangerous for the monuments, historical monuments like Taj Mahal, Gol Gumbaz and all. Okay. And next is antacids. And HCl is one of the byproduct that is created in a stomach out of digestion. Any food you take, when it undergoes a digestion process, HCl is a byproduct. So our stomach pH is slightly acidic only because HCl is present. But when you take a spicy food, what happens? More and more HCl is created, and that disease we will call it as acidity. Yes or no? Acidity. When more HCl segregates in a stomach, we feel pain and irritation in a chest area and a stomach region. We call that as acidity. And to prevent acidity, we take some medicines, and those medicines are called as antacids. Okay, antacids. Okay, so which type of chemical substances are used as an antacids? Usually bases. So here bases like you know, magnesium hydroxide, aluminum hydroxide. So these bases are used as antacids. Antacids are certain bases which on taking into a body, it can neutralize the acid that is present in a stomach. Okay, so next concept is tooth decay. So when does a tooth decay is caused? When the pH of a mouth falls below 5.5, then it leads to tooth decay. Okay, and to prevent the tooth decay, you should rub the teeth with certain bases, toothpaste containing certain bases. pH of a soil is very important in the field of agriculture. You know, all types of crops will not grow in all types of soil. It is very much specific. Some crops will grow in acidic pH range and some crops will grow in basic pH range. So definitely you have to check the pH of a soil before growing any particular crop. Okay. And now I wrote something here: honeybee sting and hair of nettle leaves. You know, both honeybee sting and hair of nettle leaves contain an acid called methanoic acid. Okay. And whenever honeybee bites, it leaves that methanoic acid into the skin. That's the reason you feel pain and irritation. And how does that pain and irritation can go away? It is by rubbing with certain bases like sodium bicarbonate. Okay, you get a relief from pain and irritation by rubbing with sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so this is all about importance of pH in everyday life. And in a NCERT book, you have a small table like which acid is present in which source. Say for example, vinegar contains acetic acid, tomato contains oxalic acid, tamarind contains tartaric acid, honeybee sting contains methanoic acid, nettle leaves contain methanoic acid. You know, a particular chart, citrus fruits contain citric acid. So which acid is present in which fruit and which vegetable or whatever the source, that particular table is important to remember. Okay, and this is all about pH and importance of pH in everyday life. Now we will talk about salts. There are mainly three types of salts. One is acidic salt, second one basic salt, and the third one is neutral salt. And coming to the definition of acidic salt, what do you mean by acidic salt? It is the salt that is made from strong acid and weak base. Okay, so salt is always formed with the combination of acid and base, right? Mainly the neutralization reaction. What do you mean by neutralization reaction? Acid when combines with a base, you get salt and water. Isn't it? Right? So whenever acid combine with a base, you get salt and water. So with the help of this reaction, basically we prepare salts. If the acid is a stronger acid and the base is a weak base, then the obtained salt we will call it as acidic salt. Clear? Now you understood the importance of remembering which are strong acids and which are strong bases, weak acids. Those examples are very important to remember. Okay, that will be helpful here, right? So whenever a strong acid reacts with weak base, the so formed salt we will call it as acidic salt. Okay, the best example is ammonium chloride. Okay, and whenever you see a salt, you must able to predict from which acid and base this salt has come from. Okay, clear everybody? And how do you predict that? See, this is one particular part, one ion, and this is another ion. Ammonium is one ion, chlorine is another ion. Okay, and the first written part must have come from base. Okay, and the next part of a salt will come from acid. Okay, and now you have to check which base contains ammonium. Can you able to remember ammonia containing base? I gave an example, right? What was the example I gave you? Ammonium hydroxide I gave you, right? So base is this NH4 in a salt must have come from this particular base, and chlorine must have come from which acid? Which acid contains Cl? Definitely HCl. Okay, so whenever HCl has reacted with ammonium hydroxide, you have got ammonium chloride. HCl is a strong acid. Ammonium hydroxide is a weak base. So the salt formed, we are calling it as acidic salt. Okay, so acidic salt is always formed from strong acid and weak base. Okay, clear? And whenever you see a such salt, say whenever a salt is given, if you want to find out from which base and which acid it has come from, just follow this logic. The first part of a salt must have come from base. So first part here is NH4. So just try to think NH4 containing base. It's ammonium hydroxide. So this must be the base. And the next part of a salt must have come from acid, no? So just try to remember Cl containing, say Cl containing acid. The best acid is HCl, right? So HCl is a strong acid and ammonium hydroxide is a weak base. Okay, so stronger component here is acid, so automatically the pH of this salt will be below 7. Okay, so this salt we will call it as acidic salt. Okay, example, try to remember ammonium chloride. And coming to the basic salt. So basic salt is the salt that is formed from strong base and weak acid. Strong base and weak acid. Okay, I gave you the example sodium carbonate, calcium carbonate. Okay, and the moment you see sodium carbonate, if you want to decide which category it belongs, then how do you check it? I told you first part of a salt will always come from a base and the second part will always come from acid, I told you, right? So sodium containing base, which one? Sodium hydroxide. CO3 containing acid, which one? H2CO3. Yes or no? Sodium hydroxide is a very strong base. H2CO3 is a weak category. If you want, you can go to the examples at the starting that I told you. Okay, you can check it. This acid comes under weak category. This NaOH comes under strong category. Okay, so this particular salt is formed from strong base like sodium hydroxide and weak acid like carbonic acid. When these two have combined, this is the salt that has formed. So which is a stronger component here? Base. Strong base, isn't it? So it is called as basic salt. And what about its pH? pH value of such salt is always above 7. Okay, and application based question will be asked like this. Sodium carbonate is there. If a phenolphthalein indicator is added to this, what color does it change? You know, what is the nature of this salt? Basic salt. It is acting as a base, right? So to a base, whenever phenolphthalein is added, the colorless will become pink color. Pink color will appear. So what is the answer here? Pink color is formed, you have to write. Understood the question now? When phenolphthalein drops are added to sodium carbonate, what color do you expect? So what is the color do you expect? Pink color, because this is a basic salt, right? The pH is always above 7. It is basic in nature. Always to a base, when phenolphthalein is added, pink color you will get, right? So that is the concept you have to apply whenever application based questions are asked. Clear everybody? Fine. And coming to the neutral salt, the best example is NaCl and KCl. This is the salt that has formed from strong acid and a strong base. Okay. Say for example NaCl is there. And can you be able to predict which base and which acid that I have taken to make NaCl? See, I told you the first part of a salt will always come from a base and the second part will always come from acid. Just try to think Na containing base, which is there NaOH. Cl containing acid, HCl. NaOH is also strong base, HCl is also strong acid. So when they combine, you get a neutral salt where the pH is equal to 7. So now I am asking a question. If a phenolphthalein is added to NaCl, what color do you get? Pink, red, colorless? What? None of the above. So what is your answer? If a phenolphthalein is added to NaCl, what color do you observe? It is not acidic also. It is not basic also, right? It is neutral. There is no change. Phenolphthalein is originally colorless. Even if you add phenolphthalein, no change takes place. Okay. So you don't get any pink color, nothing, because it is neither acid nor a base. You don't observe any change when you add phenolphthalein. You don't observe any change when you add methyl orange. You don't observe any change when you add red litmus or blue litmus, because the solution is neutral, not acidic nor a base. Right? Fine. So this is all about the salt. And this concept is very important. Multiple choice questions can be asked on this. Okay. So they will give you the 3 salts. Say for example NH4Cl, NH4Cl, sodium carbonate, calcium carbonate and NaCl. Which of the following is a neutral salt? So you must able to pick which is a neutral salt. Neutral salt is NaCl. Right? And you no need to mug up the examples also. I told you a logic to find from which acid and a base the salt must have produced. The first part of a salt is always from a base. Second part of a salt is always from a acid. Just try to think NH4 containing base. What is there? Ammonium hydroxide. Then you try to think is it a acidic salt or weak acidic base, or sorry, strong base or weak base. Okay. Next you have to think, oh, Cl is the next part. So this must have come from acid. So which acid contains Cl? HCl. Now you have to think whether that HCl is strong acid or a weak acid. Okay. So that's how you think and find out the answers. It will be easy. Okay. So have a little practice on this particular concept. If you want more details about this concept, you can click the link above. You will get more details. Okay. Fine. And next we will go for detailed aspects about few more salts like NaOH preparation, baking powder, washing soda, plaster of Paris, isn't it? So these salts preparation and uses, let us try to discuss. First one is sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is also called as caustic soda. It is also called caustic soda. And you know, it is an example for alkali. Yes or no? What do you mean by an alkali? Any base that can be dissolved in water is called as alkali. NaOH is an example for alkali. KOH is an example for alkali, right? So alkali is nothing but a base that can dissolve in water. Right? So how do we prepare sodium hydroxide? By chlor-alkali process. The preparation method is called as chlor-alkali process. Okay. So why we call it as chlor-alkali process? In this process, we are preparing chlorine and also an alkali. That is why it is called chlor-alkali process. So how do we do this chlor-alkali process? we take brine solution. What do you mean by a brine solution? NaOH dissolved in water. That is 5% NaCl solution is called brine solution. 5% NaCl solution is called brine solution. That means 5 gram of NaCl, when you dissolve it in 95 grams of water, we call it as brine solution. Okay, so NaCl plus water is called brine solution. So such brine solution we are taking it in a tank where we have 2 electrodes. Electrodes are nothing but some metal rods, and one electrode I connected to a negative terminal of battery, another electrode I connected to a positive terminal of battery. Okay, and the one which I connected to a negative terminal of battery is called as cathode, and the one which I connected to a positive terminal of battery is called anode. Remember this. Okay, fine. So electricity is passing because I connected to a battery, I pass electricity, and solution is NaCl. The moment NaCl dissolves in the water, we all know it will break up into Na plus ion and Cl minus ions. Okay, and here negative ions will start going towards positive electrode and positive ions will start moving towards negative electrode, because always negative and positive attractions, right? Attractions happen between opposite things, right? So positive ion is going to a negative electrode and negative ion is going to a positive electrode. Their chemical reaction occur. Okay, and you will get a product NaOH, and anode side, that is positive terminal side, you are getting chlorine, and at cathode side you are getting hydrogen gas. Okay, so whenever we pass electricity to a brine solution, that is NaCl in water solution, you will get NaOH as the main substance, and byproducts are Cl2 and H2. So this particular preparation is called as chlor-alkali process. Okay, and you should remember which gas is obtained at anode and which gas is obtained at cathode. And coming to their uses, hydrogen gas uses, it is used as a fuel and it can be used for the preparation of ammonia. Okay, at least 2 uses you have to remember for every component. Okay, chlorine gas uses, used in water treatment. Okay, and it is also used in swimming pools as disinfectant. Okay, it has a capacity to kill the germs. That's the reason it is used in swimming pools also. And coming to the uses of NaOH, it is used as a degreasing agent for metals, and it is also used in the preparation of soaps. Okay, soap industry also this is used. Fine. So this is about NaOH, its preparation and their uses. Okay. And coming to the next compound, bleaching powder. The chemical formula of bleaching powder is CaOCl2 and chemical name is calcium oxychloride. And how do you prepare bleaching powder? When you pass chlorine gas, this is preparation. When you pass chlorine gas to a lime water, that is calcium hydroxide solution, you will get bleaching powder along with water. And what is its use? Used as a disinfectant in a drinking water. Okay, has the ability to kill the germs. Okay, so that's the reason used as a disinfectant in water treatment or used as a disinfecting agent for a drinking water. Fine. And coming to the next compound, baking soda. Baking soda is nothing but sodium bicarbonate, and this is its preparation. When you combine NaCl with water, carbon dioxide and ammonia, you will get sodium bicarbonate with the byproduct ammonium chloride. Okay, ammonium chloride. And its uses, it is used in bakeries, that is why it is also called baking powder actually, and it is also used in fire extinguishers. Next particular compound, washing soda. Washing soda is prepared how? Yes, when sodium bicarbonate is heated, sodium carbonate you will get, and this sodium carbonate, when you leave it to atmosphere, it absorbs some amount of water. This one would be converted into Na2CO3 dot NH2O. This is what we call washing soda actually. Okay, and this is C dot 10H2O. This is called water of crystallization. Yes or no? Fine. Anyway, we will deal little later about water of crystallization. And uses sodium washing soda is used in water softening treatment. Okay, to convert hard water into soft water, to remove all the magnesium and calcium salts. You know, sodium washing soda, that is sodium carbonate, is used. Next chemical is POP, that is plaster of Paris. Chemical formula is this, and it is prepared by heating gypsum. This is what we call gypsum. Okay, gypsum is a white color powder. The moment you heat it, you will get POP. You will get POP. And again, when water is added to POP, it will get converted back into gypsum. It's a reversible process actually. Okay, when you heat gypsum, it gets converted into POP. Again, when water is added, you know that POP will become a very hard mass, which is nothing but gypsum. Okay, so where POP is used? POP is used in the construction industries to make statues, even in the hospitals to make bandages. Okay, that white color powder, they use it for the bandages. So that white color powder is actually nothing but that POP. Okay, and they will mix it with water. So slowly they'll put water, it becomes soft, and they'll apply it and they'll make a bandage out of it. And after some time, it keeps becoming hard, right? That hardest substance is nothing but gypsum. Okay, POP, white color powder, you are adding water. Okay, and after some time, it is getting converted into what? Gypsum. Okay, again you heat the gypsum, it becomes a white color powder, which is nothing but POP. So both are interconvertible with each other. Okay, fine. So uses of POP, as I already told you, used for making bandages, statues, ceilings, etc. Okay, fine. And the next concept, a small concept that we have to deal is water of crystallization. Water of crystallization. So what do you mean by water of crystallization? See here we have written calcium sulfate dot half H2O. Here we have written sodium carbonate dot 10H2O, right? And this water molecules are not bonded to this molecule. They are just present around the molecule. That is called water of crystallization. Okay. So water of crystallization is nothing but number of water molecules that is present around each molecule of a compound is called water of crystallization. Okay. Sometimes this water of crystallization is responsible for the color. We all know copper sulfate is blue in color, right? Why copper sulfate is blue in color? Because of this water of crystallization. Around each molecule of copper sulfate, 5 molecules of water are surrounded. You can't see with your naked eyes, okay, but you can feel that moistness. Okay, so around each molecule 5 water molecules are surrounded, and that is the reason copper sulfate is blue in color. And take this copper sulfate in a beaker, and slowly when you heat it, what will happen? Blue color of copper sulfate will become colorless. Blue color of copper sulfate will become colorless. Why? Because whenever you're heating, that 5 water molecules will go out into atmosphere. Once the water molecule is going out into the atmosphere, leaving copper sulfate, then no more you find that blue color. Okay, so that's the reason that blue color, the moment you heat copper sulfate, all water would go out, no, so blue color would convert it into colorless. Okay, similarly, in the first chapter you have learnt FeSO4, that is also hydrated salt only. Okay, FeSO4.7H2O we will write. What is the water of crystallization here? 7H2O. Because of the presence of this 7H2O, this is green in color. This is green in color. The moment you heat ferrous sulfate, you know that green color would be converted into colorless, because when you heat it, all the water content would go out into atmosphere. Okay, and you know, since it is green in color, this is called green vitriol. This is called green vitriol. Okay, since this is blue in color, this particular compound is called as blue vitriol. Blue vitriol. Remember the words, may be helpful for you. Okay. So green vitriol, blue vitriol. Water of crystallization is responsible for the color. Once you heat them, once the water of crystallization vanishes, the color also will go away. The salts will become colorless. So like that, sometimes water of crystallization is also responsible for the color of a substance. So this is all about the chapter acids, bases and salts. So please read the textbook line by line, read all the activities and try to give answers for the activity questions you have in a textbook. And that is where actually application based questions can be asked from. Okay. So if you like the concept, please do like it, share it and subscribe our channel for more updates. Thank you.